Hello, I think we are live. Let me put down my microphone. Please let me know in the chat if you can see me and hear me. I want to make sure that everything is working. Yes, lots of yeses. Okay, awesome. All right, I'm super excited to be doing this with you guys today. Okay, so the first thing I want to know is where in the world are you? And tell me if it's like a crazy time. So, okay, Andrew from Ukraine, Gilbert from Brazil, Liz from Atlanta, Chris in Australia, Ava from Vienna. You're going too fast. Franklin, oh my gosh, wow. People in Denmark, Victoria from Ukraine, Rick is in Mexico, Sarah in the UK. It's late, somebody says, Leah. Okay, 10 p.m. in Italy. Okay, awesome. We have the world's time zones represented. I'm so glad that you guys that you took the time out of whatever time it is. I'm so glad that you decided to be here. What I'm going to do is I am going to take about an hour. We may go a little bit longer if we get some good Q&A happening, but I'm going to make this hour as absolutely value-packed for you as I possibly can. Okay, as we talk about our topic, which is how to have an awesome trial lesson to get more students. So what I will do is I'm going to get right into what I'm going to share with you. So just briefly, I'm Chris. I'm in the U.S. It's 4 p.m. for me here in South Florida. So hey, Michelle from Ecuador. The other thing is, if you have a question, I'm going to be watching the chat box, and I may try to answer some questions in the chat box, but I'm not going to be able to keep up with everything in the chat box. If there's a question you want to ask for the official Q&A at the end of the webinar, there should be below me a place where you can submit a question. So at the end, I'll be able to go in and take a look at some of the questions. Betsy says, bet it's warmer there. Yeah, it's really warm. It's like 27 degrees Celsius, which is wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, which, oh, I have to install an extension. It says that it's already in. Oh, I have to just enable it. So now we're going to try that again once that is enabled. Yes. And I'm going to share this. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and make this larger. Okay, so now I want you to tell me if you can see my slides. Just give me a yes or something if you are able to see the slides. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, great. So we are going to get started. And I want to make it so that I can see the chat so that I can talk to you guys if I need to. Okay, great. So how to have an awesome trial lesson to get more students. Like I said, we're going to go for about an hour, and we've got a lot to do, so we're going to jump right into it. You are in the right place okay, so that's the very first thing I want to say. You are in the right place if you have ever been frustrated with trial lessons, specifically how to end them. You're in the right place if you struggle with how to convert your trial lesson into a regular student. And you're in the right place if you feel salesy about asking the student to buy from you, but you feel like they're not going to buy anything unless you do. Okay, because that's often true, right? They often won't buy something unless you actually ask them, and that sometimes it can be uncomfortable. It's like, oh, I sound like a salesperson. You are in the right place if you are not sure how to demonstrate your method. Okay, so if any one of these apply to you, then awesome. You're in the best place possible. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to share a link for a trial lesson cheat sheet, okay? So like I have said, I'm going to cover a lot, but what I've done is I've condensed everything that I'm going to share with you into 2 pages. So if you stay to the end, and this will kind of reduce your burden on if you feel like you want to write a bunch of things down, I definitely encourage you to do that, but just know that I'm going to send you this cheat sheet at the end if you hang out, okay? So introducing myself, my name is Chris. I am a full-time online English teacher. I'm a teacher trainer, and I have a full schedule of students paying $36 and up. And why do I have that there? It's not to brag about that $36 an hour, because certainly there are teachers who are making more. But I feel like there are so many online teachers who say, oh, the only way for me to get students is to charge $5 an hour. And it's just not the case, okay? Because it's not, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way. So I'm not trying to, you know, say, oh, I make all this money, because I really don't, but I want to make sure you don't undervalue yourself. So the question I want to ask first is, how was I able to get a full schedule of paying students, okay? Because in April of 2016, I was freelancing and I only had a few students of my own. Oh, I have a horrendous spelling mistake. Betsy, okay, well, that happens to the best of us. Did I misspell English? I guess that happens sometimes. Thanks for pointing it out. That's a good thing I'm keeping an eye on that so I can edit that. So I was freelancing. I only had a few students of my own, and now I teach as many hours as I want or don't want, have a full schedule, and I have lifestyle freedom. So I travel, I can be wherever I want as long as I have an internet connection, and it's awesome, okay? And what I want to do is I'm going to show you today the most important things that got me from there to here. And I want to qualify that a little bit, because there's no magic bullet, okay? I think I've been on a lot of webinars, and maybe you have too, but sometimes we get on these webinars where someone says that they're going to like offer you some magic cure-all, okay? So there's no such thing as a magic bullet. I can't fix it for you. I can't make you a millionaire overnight. Has anyone ever been on a webinar like that before? Is that just me? So if you've been on a webinar like that before, just say yes in the chat box. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good. So you know what I'm talking about. Okay, great. So this is a different kind of webinar. I feel like most webinars are pre-packaged marketing scripts where somebody talks for an hour, and then right when they get to the good part, they say, oh, for only $997, you can get my secrets, or else you're never going to get in and your life is going to be terrible, okay? So if anyone, if you've had that experience, if you've been on webinars like that, that's not what this is, okay? There is going to be an offer at the end of this webinar for Off2Class, but you are going to get tremendous value out of this time, whether you spend money or not, whether you do anything. And the other important thing is that I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm not going to say, and here's everything except my most important secret. I'm going to share with you my whole system. Okay, so I'm going to teach how to turn trial lesson students into long-term students. I'm going to teach you how to structure your trial lesson so that you don't have to be salesy. I'm going to teach you the right questions to ask so that your students, they can trust you. And I'm going to show you the best way to showcase your teaching method. And I see, okay, Linny says it's 8 a.m. sitting with coffee in hand. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to show you all of this. So this will go fast, so get ready. We've got a lot to cover. Take notes if you want. Okay, all right, so people are teaching online in record numbers, okay? All the time, there are more and more online students. And I feel like most of us, when we first start, we're excited and we're ready to make a difference. And we make a website and we create social media pages and we announce our presence to the world, but the world doesn't notice, okay? And then if you do get someone to reach out to you, they have a trial lesson and they don't buy lessons. Has anyone had this experience? And say yes if you had, because this was me. I was excited. I thought I was going to change the world. I was going to teach thousands of people. Good. Okay. So you guys know where I'm coming from. No, Diana. Okay. Well, that's great. I wish that I didn't have this experience. So our goals are going to be to have a proven system that converts students, that makes both you and the student feel perfectly comfortable, and that has no pressure pitch. I do not like, and I do not want you to have to feel like you need to do this pitch in order to make the student buy from you, because nobody likes that, okay? So a little bit more about me. I became an online English teacher in September of 2012. And I actually went back and I found, I don't even have these files anymore, but I used like the Wayback Machine to find a picture of my first website. And this is actually an image from my first website, okay? First of all, my website was onlineenglishlangaugelessons.com, which if anyone even tried to go there, they would probably, if you misspelled one of those letters, then you were going somewhere else, okay? And I put all this work into making this free business English course. And I made this, and you can see my silly little graphic here. I used the name of the New York Times. I didn't have permission, so it's a good thing that no one actually did end up doing this, because if this was popular, right, I didn't ask anyone's permission before using the logo of the New York Times. My logo is janky. Like I put all this work into this, and it got me 0 students, okay? So I was like, okay, I've got to find a better way to do this. So instead, I started targeting companies to teach their employees, and the company would pay for 50 lessons up front, and that was great, and I would be dancing around the house when I got a contract, but it was really inconsistent. So it's like I would get paid almost for a whole year's worth of English lessons, and then I would have the student for a year, and then I wouldn't get paid again. So it just was this, I was getting some money and getting excited, and then if I didn't get a client, then nothing was happening. So I started learning about internet marketing. And this on the slide is my internet marketing dream team. And you can look these guys up: Danny Eny, Christian Mickelson, Jeff Walker, Mariah Cause, Brian Harris. These are like the top internet marketers that I love. I read their blogs. So what I did was I spent 18 months reading, going to webinars and reading. And I devoured everything that these people put out. And I was desperate to try to find a way to help. So I started applying this to teaching online, and I joined italki. And this was a formula that worked for me. And for me, all these elements were necessary. I had to learn the stuff, I had to apply it to teaching online, and I had to join italki.com, which is the teacher marketplace. And that is what made the difference for me. It was like doing all those things is what made a world of a difference. And in less than 6 months, I was able to raise my prices 3 times. I got recognized by italki.com to do a training for their teachers. I filled my schedule so much that I was burned out, and I was able to satisfy my students to retain them for months and months. Paul says, great, I've been researching italki these days. Yeah, Paul, that's great. And you know, the thing about italki is great. Some teachers do really well, some teachers don't do really well. And the things that I'm teaching today are going to be super helpful for you if that's something that you decide you want to do. And what's important is these things that I was able to do, this is not because I'm a genius or special. It's only about applying principles. That's what all this comes down to. And so what I'm going to share with you are my principles for trial lessons. So these are things that are going to be absolutely possible for you. And I'm going to take just a quick break and have some water. Okay, so the 5 steps of a successful trial lesson. So we're just going to go through them really quick, and then we're going to take each one by one. So here are the 5 steps. The principal is your pal. That's he says exactly. So pre-lesson communication. That's not even a number. That's like a pre-number, right? So we have leading with listening. We have model before and after, show the mechanism, and close the sale. So this is the basic rubric. I say this, it's like you hear that record scratch sound, like people say, did you just say close the sale? Because some people get really sensitive about this. Because selling conjures images of the snake oil salesman. And the snake oil salesman, you know who that guy is? The snake oil salesman is that guy who has a product that he knows doesn't work, and he uses slimy sales methods to try to get your money. And then as soon as you pay for it, the snake oil, then he's like laughing all the way to the bank, right? Like he's like tricked you. Paul says, will the slides be available? No, Paul, the slides won't be available, but the recording will be. So you'll be able to see these again. And I'm going to go back through those steps. So I know I went quick through those steps, but we're going to go through them slower. Okay. So when I talk about closing the sale, and if that makes you feel funny, it could be because you're like, oh, selling, I don't want to be like a snake oil salesman. But look, the fact is, if that's you, if you're a snake oil salesman, then stop selling English lessons. If you feel like if you're trying to take advantage of somebody, then you shouldn't be doing this, okay? So here's the question. Are you confident that what you are offering is going to really help someone? And if you are, and I hope you are, if you're confident that what you're offering is going to help someone, then you have no reason to fear selling. There's no reason, because you're selling something that's going to help someone. So in my opinion and experience, fear of selling, it comes from 2 places. One, it comes from self-consciousness. And the self-consciousness thing is like this: who am I to charge X dollars for language lessons? And it doesn't matter what X dollars is. Paulino says there are tricky ways to sell and good ways to sell, but we're selling our service. We bring value. Exactly, and that's what we're going to focus on. So this self-consciousness bit is like, who am I to charge X dollars for language lessons? But it doesn't even matter what number X is. It could be $5 or it could be $500, and it is possible to find $500 language lessons. It's not about the number. It's about you being confident in what you offer. So if you help someone get a better job, how much is that worth to them? Potentially thousands and thousands of dollars. What if you help someone move to a country where they can have a better life for their children? What is that worth? It's priceless. So this is what teaching a language can do for someone, especially English. And we allow ourselves to feel unworthy over teaching $20, $30, $40 an hour. Brendan says there must be a happy medium to charge. I don't know what you mean by that, Brendan. If you flesh that question out a little bit more and drop it in the questions for the Q&A, and I want maybe we can come back to that one because that looks like it might be a good one. The other place that this fear of selling comes from is fear of rejection. Like, oh, what if they say no? You know, this kind of thought that says, I'm afraid that people will say no, you're too expensive. You know, who are you to charge these prices? But here's the thing. No matter how much you charge, two things will happen. Guaranteed. One, some people will buy, and two, you will have people that say it's too expensive. Those two things are going to happen whether you if you charge $5 an hour, you will have people that say that's too expensive. Will you accept $3 an hour? If you charge $500 an hour, you will still have people that say, okay, let's do it, if you can convince them of the value of what you're selling. Okay, so kind of to wrap this up, this fear of selling bit is selling something that you truly believe is in the best interests of the customer is nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. And so if you're not proud about your prices, about what you're selling, if you're like, well, I know it's expensive, but maybe if you want to buy, people can hear that and it really turns people off. Okay. So the 5 steps of a successful trial lesson. Now I've got these here: the pre-lesson communication, leading with listening, model before and after, show the mechanism. The mechanism is like how you demonstrate your method. I want to just clarify that right away. And close the sale. So the question I want to ask is, which one do you think is the hardest? If you look at these steps, which step do you think is the most difficult? Okay, tell me, write in the chat, type it. Type the number, or if the number 1 or whatever. So if there's one that you think is harder than the others, which one do you think it is? Okay, 3, 4, 1, 4, 3. Okay, we got a good mix. 3, 4, 4. Paulina says listening. All right, so more 4s than others. Although we've got a nice mix, which is great. Sheeta says 4. 4 is what most people say. All right, and I get so excited about that I put a big fat wrong and an X over it. And we've got a few people who are who know. A few people who know. And it's in fact number 1. It's leading with listening. Okay, and before we get to that, before we get into pre-lesson communication or leading with listening, I want to talk about pre-lesson communication. Because this is important, because the goal of communicating before your trial lesson is to get them to show up. Because if they don't come to the trial lesson, then none of the other steps matter. Has anybody had someone sign up for a free trial lesson and not show up? Has anybody had that experience? Because that used to happen to me all the time. Okay, yes, 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 yes. Okay, good. All right, so that's the goal. We want people to come. All right, and so in order to get to that, let's ask ourselves, why wouldn't they show up? Okay, so what are the reasons that somebody wouldn't show up to a trial lesson? Well, it's free. Okay, so free, to us, free means no investment. I'm offering you something valuable for no investment. The problem is that we as in humans, we often equate that with no value. So the free ebook is the book that you don't read. Free advice is the advice that you don't take. When something is free, it's like, I'll be there later. So if you've got a free trial lesson coming up at 4 o'clock and at 3:45, a friend says, hey, you want to go to the store? You're like, yeah, that trial lesson was free. It'll be there later. Okay. So what you have to do is we have to create investment, okay? Because commitment follows cost. So you want to create an investment because, and to illustrate this, there's a quote from Alexander Hamilton that says, when you got skin in the game, you stay in the game, all right? And so what that means is when someone is invested, they're more likely to follow through, okay? And Alexander Hamilton did not really say that. Lin-Manuel Miranda said that. So, but if you don't want to charge for your trial lesson, how do you get investment? Well, a time investment is better than a money investment. So if you can get your potential trial student to invest with their time, that's actually better than investing with their money, okay? And then what is the best way to get a student to invest their time? What's the best way to do that? Well, I will show you the best way. And the best way is to use the Off2Class placement test. And I'm gonna show you exactly what that's like. So I'm going to switch what I'm sharing. You can see me again now. We're gonna stop the share and I'm gonna screen share again. All right, and now I'm going to switch to my browser. Okay, so I'm actually gonna take you right to this. So we're gonna refresh this so that we can see it again. Okay, and does everyone see this? Do you see my Off2Class? Yes, good. Okay, great. I thought you were blind. Oh, why would you think that? Okay, good, people can see it. So here's what happens. You have a prospective student. You have somebody contact you, and I'm gonna stay on the camera. Yeah, that works perfectly. So you have a student contact you about a try-on lesson. And look, so when you go to off2class.com, and we're gonna talk more about Off2Class, so this is a little bit out of context, but look, right here we have assigned test, okay? So you get a placement test pop up, and you can choose an existing student or a prospective student. So you click a prospective student nickname, so something you're gonna remember them by. So Steve the student. And student email, how about steve@steve.com. Student password, I always give my students the password English 1, always. English 1. And then student interface is English. You can change the language. And then you can choose if you want to send a copy of the credentials to the student or not. And what this means is I click yes. When I click yes, that means that as soon as I hit add student, that student is going to get an email that says, hello, Steve the student, your placement test is ready for you to take. Please take this test. And so I click that. Student, and it says student added, please wait. Okay, good. The placement test has been sent to Steve the student. And now Steve the student will be able to click, and he's going to be able to take a test that is going to be a really thorough grammar test for his English, so that, and then once he takes that test, the results are going to get sent right to me. And once that happens, and I'm going to refresh this one, once Steve the student takes that test, I'm going to get his results. So here, this is a real student, placement test results. And the first thing that it's going to show me, the teacher, is it's going to show me these bars, which show me the student's skills. So at the A1, low beginner level, Steve the student here got 17 right, 2 wrong, and he got 1 that he marked he didn't know. Okay, so if I look here, it says proficiency level is B2. So this student is an upper intermediate. So probably we're gonna really wanna work on correcting these A1 and A2 mistakes. So we've got a note about your candidate's results. This is gonna tell me that he's got fossilized errors. And it even has a summary of what this student is able to do. And then the best part is that I've got all the students' mistakes right here. So I can sit down with Steve and be like, okay, look, Steve, here's your mistakes. Here's an A1 level mistake. A horse is blank mammal. You wrote an, that's wrong. The right answer is a mammal. I'm gonna pop out of chat everything. I just wanna make sure it's rather small. All right, here, let me do this. Let's make this big, and now it shouldn't be small anymore. I was afraid of that. I'll take my face off the screen. Okay, so a horse is a mammal, right? So, and all the mistakes are here. And here's my favorite part about this. Okay, I'm gonna look at this one right here. Let's look at this mistake. He likes sugar in his coffee, but I don't want. Well, the student wrote some, but when that's wrong, the right answer is any. okay? So what if your student says this? He likes sugar in his coffee, but I don't want some. If the student says, well, why can't I say some? And you might have a situation where you go, I don't know. And the temptation, right? I'm sure you've been in this situation where you say, well, that's the way it is, right? Because some is wrong and any is right. So if you find yourself in that situation where the student asks that question, over to the right, we've got a link to a lesson. So I can open this up, and now I'm going to say I'm just browsing, and it opens up the classroom. And so now with that student who made that mistake, that had that question, we are now having a lesson custom made for that specific mistake. That's the part about the trial lesson, about the placement test, excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to come back. Okay, cool. I'm going to peek at the chat box. Okay, great. Okay, now we're going to stop sharing, and I'm going to go back to my slides. So hello again, and back to the slides. Everybody with me so far? Am I putting anyone to sleep? And again, if you have questions, put them. Okay, good. Ava says it's great. So someone's listening. Awesome. Great. Okay, so that was what I just suggested. The best way to get the student to invest their time is this off the class level test. Can you see if I keep my face on? Actually, we'll go ahead and make that. We'll go ahead and make it bigger, and that way we don't have to worry. Okay. Some of my students are native speakers and have very little idea about grammar. Yep. My enthusiasm can't put us to sleep. Oh, thank you. That makes me feel better. Okay. So pre-lesson communication. Why wouldn't they show up? Okay, one, it's free. That's what we just addressed. And then the second one is everyone and their mother offers a free trial lesson. Okay, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Every English teacher on the planet, on their website, on their social media says, contact me for a free trial lesson, contact me for a free trial lesson, free trial lesson. And you wonder why they don't come. Because there's nothing exciting about a free trial lesson. A free trial lesson is unexciting, unoriginal, and unattractive, okay? And you know the value of a free trial lesson, but to a student, you are a stranger. And who cares about your free trial lesson? Like, and students, if they want to learn English, they could get English lessons for the rest of their life, taking one free trial lesson a week with a different teacher, okay? By having a free trial lesson, you're not doing yourself any favors. Make it something different. Don't call it a free trial lesson. I called mine a personal English action plan. I had a whole PowerPoint that I went through with them where I said, okay, well, would you like to watch movies? Do you like to read books? Do you like to listen to podcasts? What do you like to do? And then we searched the internet to find movies, books, podcasts, and we had a calendar and a schedule and said, okay, on Monday, you're going to listen to an episode of this podcast. On Tuesday, it's going to be movie night in English, and you're going to pick a movie. And on Wednesday, you're going to read an article from this blog about this topic you like. You're giving them an outcome. So look at what we have right next to each other. Okay, I offered a personalized English action plan where we will work together to make a step-by-step plan to take your English to the next level in the next 6 months. So does that sound more appealing, or a free trial lesson? Okay, so think about it, spend some time and say, what can I do to make my trial lesson more exciting? Okay, good. So Curtis popped in with a question, and then Chris has popped in. Great, fantastic. Okay, good. All right, moving on. All right, so now we're going to get into kind of the first and most difficult part of a trial lesson, leading with listening. So what I mean by leading with listening is, like, we're starting off our trial lesson by getting to know, listening to the student and learning exactly what it is in their situation, so we can talk about it. Okay, so when we do our leading with listening, we're looking for two things. We're looking for the main problem, and we're looking for the big goal. Okay, so I want to talk about the main problem. Their main problem is not what they say it is. Okay, so for example, let me just give you this example. someone might say in a trial lesson, native speakers don't understand my accent. And you might think, okay, well then your problem is pronunciation, right? So I'm going to help teach you pronunciation, but that's actually not it. The problem is not pronunciation. The problem is that they're feeling embarrassed and they're feeling left out. So you want to get them to say it, okay? And why? Why is that important, right? Because this isn't a therapy session. This is a language lesson. Why am I going to try to get them to say that they're feeling embarrassed and left out? Because people buy on emotion and justify with logic. This is true for everyone. As humans, we like to think that we are logical creatures, and to a limited extent we are, but we're emotional. There's 1,000 examples of this. A really easy one is I have an iPhone. And why do I have an iPhone and not an Android? Well, I could list for you the reasons why I think iPhone is better than Android. But if I really am honest with myself, the reason I have an iPhone is because, well, I just like the shiny Apple devices, right? I like how they make me feel. Ultimately, I picked iPhone over Android because it was emotional, okay? Not because it was logical, even though I thought that maybe it was logical at the time. So that's the reason that you're doing this. You want to get to the real deep issue. What's the actual reason they're there? Because if they're showing up to this trial lesson, if they are ready to do something to improve their English, they've got a problem. And you want to find out what the real problem is so that you can help them solve it. So that's what you're doing. You're looking for the main problem, and then you're looking for the big goal. And in the big goal, you're repeating what you did. You're just doing the reverse. So you want to find out why they want to improve their English. What is the real reason? Okay. And I'm going to talk about what that means in another second. So we're going to model before and after, okay? And model before and after is super, super simple. So here's what happens. You say, let me see if I understand what you need clearly. So you say right now, and I'm gonna fill in these blanks with real examples. So you would say, for example, right now in negotiations, you're not able to argue very well, and it makes you feel embarrassed. Okay, so that takes this kind of thing and it puts some skin on it. And then you could say your goal is, when you're in a negotiation, to be able to articulate your position easily and confidently, and that will allow you to do better work, to get a promotion, and not look foolish in front of your colleagues. And then you say, is that what you want? Because what you're doing is you're taking the before, the problem that they're struggling with, and then comparing it to the after, the thing that they want, and you say, is that what you want? And when you say that, when you ask them if that's what they want, you'll hear your students say, yes, that is what I want. They'll have like this emotion in their voice that they know that someone understands them, and that will make them feel good. And then you can say, okay, I can help with that. And then you move forward, because showing that before and after, that shows the student that you understand their problem, you understand their goal, and when they see someone that understands their problem and their goal, then they're going to be ready to listen. And then you show them how you're going to help them. So you show the mechanism, and the mechanism is your method, okay? So this is your teaching method. And what should your teaching method be? Well, research tells us that there are three proven strategies for language learning. There's only three. So here they are. One-on-one lessons are better than group lessons. A little study every day is better than a lot of study on fewer days. And that it's more effective if you master simple things before moving on to complex things, okay? Is this news to anybody? Is anyone surprised by this? Because I don't think so, because this is pretty simple stuff. Everything other than this, people debate. Okay, people say, well, I don't know, it could be there's this theory and there's that theory, and people say, well, I really believe in this methodology for education, but for everyone who says that, there's someone who says the opposite. Okay, so this is really it. These are the things that are like 100% scientifically proven. So the moral of the story is that it doesn't matter what your mechanism is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you like to do role plays. It doesn't matter if you like to read stories, if you like to do blog articles, make outlines, make mind maps, whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you feel like you are most effective doing, do that. Because if you're following these three things, then you're good. Some things will work for some students, some will work for others. And what does matter, this is what's really important, is that you have a plan, that you're confident, and that you have a way to show the student, okay? And you screen share. This is what I'm doing now. I showed you how to do the Off2Class placement test. I did a screen share. That's what I do with my student. I screen share my student. I show them the placement test. We talk about one of their mistakes. And when I show them that I've got a full map of their mistakes with links to the lessons to how to fix them, they're like, wow, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. They see that I have a plan, and it makes them say, okay, this is someone who's trustworthy. And now onto the big bugaboo. Close the sale. Oh dear, heaviness, close the sale. How do I close the sale? And here's the best part. If you do it right, the fourth step does not exist. It just disappears. It goes away. So, okay, let's do it. How do I buy? This is what your student says after 3 perfect steps. If you do step 1, step 2, step 3, assuming you've done your free trial communication and they show up, then the 4th step, it doesn't even exist. So here's what you do. I'm going to show you exactly what I do. After I finish the mechanism, after I finish showing the student how I teach, I ask if the student has questions. Do you have any questions for me about the lessons? If they say yes, I answer them. If they say no, I tell the student that I would like to talk about price. I say, okay, I'm going to talk about prices now. And then I tell them my prices. I say, here's my price for one lesson, here's my discount for this, and here's how it works. These are my prices. Then once I finish talking about prices, I say, is this possible for you? And if the student says no, I don't push at all. If the student, and I sold a package of lessons yesterday because this is what happened. I said, is this possible? The student said, well, can you take would you negotiate to a lower price? And I said, no, I won't negotiate to a lower price. And I said, maybe you should just try to find an English teacher who's a little bit, has a little bit of a lower price. And then the student said, okay, I'll pay for yours. I just wanted to ask. So it's like, it's no big deal. I don't negotiate, I don't haggle. I don't want to force anyone to take lessons with me. So I say, is it possible? If they say no, fine, go find a lower price teacher. That's cool. You're going to take steps to improve your English, and that's great. If they say yes, I say, okay, would you like to schedule your first lesson? And so if they say yes and yes, I send the invoice directly on the call with them. I have the invoice ready to go. I walk them through the checkout process. They pay for the invoice. We put lesson number 1 on the calendar, and we're done, and we're good. And now I have a student, okay? So this is it. This is the whole system. This is everything I do to make sure it's 4 steps. I had 5 steps before. This is everything that I do to give a successful trial lesson, okay? So then the question is, are you, given this information that I've shared, are you all set and are you ready to go? Oh, and let me make sure, guys, before I switch to something else, I want to ask, I promised you that I would teach you the whole system. Did I keep my promise? Do you feel like I honored that? And if I haven't, then tell me what I can do to make it worth it, okay? So say yes if you feel like I've kept my promise, please, in the chat. Rick says yes, you have. Yes, JJ says yes, Curtis says yes, 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 yes. Okay, good, lots of yeses, good. Because I don't like it when people say they're going to tell me something in a webinar and then I feel like I got shorted. So good, I'm super glad that you feel that way. That's important to me. Okay, so are you all set and ready to go? Well, yes and no, okay? I'm not sure why you showed up today, because it could be because you're tired of struggling with trial lessons. It could be because you wanted to come and learn about somebody else's proven system. It could be because you wanted to see what someone else's trial lessons are like. No matter why you are here, I want you to get this one thing, okay? I found a formula for how to be successful. And I say a formula because I don't say it's the only way, right? I'm not saying I have some secret, some like mystery that I've solved. Like, you can do it. There are lots of ways that this will work. Angie says, can you share the links for videos, podcasts, and so on? Angie, what do you mean? What videos, podcasts, and so on? I'm not sure what you mean by that. So I've found a formula for how to be successful. This is something that you can do, okay? So given everything I've shared with you, you might say, okay, so I'm good on the trial, but what do I teach? What do I teach? And here's what you have choices. So you can do it the hard way. And the hard way is spending hours creating lesson plans searching the internet and devoting your energy to planning instead of actually getting students, or you can use Off2Class and you can have all of your lesson plans done for you in one place. Okay, I like this quote from Einstein. Everything in life should be as simple as possible, but not simpler, okay? I see students all the time, or teachers, I see teachers all the time. They are running around in circles trying to find the right things to teach. They say, well, I want to teach phrasal verbs, and I want to teach grammar, and what kind of resources, and I have 500 bookmarks, and I've downloaded a bookmark manager so that I can keep track of all these bookmarks, and I use them in combinations for these lessons. Like, that's fine and that's great, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to take so long. So I want to tell you more about Off2Class. Off2Class is a one-stop shop for all of your English curriculum. So Off2Class is business English, it's IELTS test prep, it's conversation lessons, it's grammar, there's reading, and there's quiz games, and there's more, okay? But don't take my word for it. I'm going to share again. I'm going to share again Off2Class, and I'm going to give you just a taste. So I see people say, okay, Rosanna's here. Rosanna is a big fan of Off2Class. Highly recommend. Okay, great. For those of you who are not familiar with Off2Class, I'm going to show you. I'm going to take a peek, and we're going to look. Okay, so we're going to go back to this. I'm going to make this big. You're going to stare into the vortex for a second. There goes the vortex. Okay. And now we're going to pull up Off2Class. Okay, so what I showed you, and let's go back to the home screen. Okay, so this is where I assign the test. So here I have all of these activities. So we have listening activities, speaking, reading. I'm not going to go through all of these because there's a ton. What I want to do is show you an example of what a lesson is like. So let's say, okay, conditions and wish. So I've got a whole choice of conditionals. So let's say we want to look at conditionals, true, present, future. Okay, so I'm just going to click that, and I'm going to launch the lesson. So I'm going to click, I'm just browsing. Okay, now I'm in the classroom, and so you can see I've got a window here, and this is what I'm going to be going over with the student. And on the left, I've got this teacher notes here. So this teacher notes is for me. And what happens, what I can do is if I click full screen, so if I go to up here, this full screen, what it does is this is going to kick this teacher notes into a separate window. So now I can see the teacher's notes, but just like on the screen share in Webinar Ninja, just like you cannot see the teacher's notes, I'm just confirming that you can't, but instead it's just the vortex. Just like you cannot, where is it? It's here. You can't see the teacher's notes, I can see them. So if you're using, whether it's Skype, whether it's Zoom, whatever screen share platform that you're using, you will be able to see the teacher notes, student will not. Okay, so here we go. I've got 27 slides. I've got down here, I can choose, I can scroll through the slides, so I can pick one. So boom, okay. So we're gonna start with like some warm-ups. What will happen if you eat fast food every day, you drink a bottle of red wine, and you're getting the student to talk? I've got some tools up here. Let's go to a place where I can actually use the tools. I've got a pencil, and on the pencil, I can write on the slide. So if I wanna highlight something, okay, habitual activity or situation, I can use the pen. If I wanna, I've got a magnifying glass, and we can zoom in and make it a little bit closer, okay? That works too. And then what we have is we have slides with gap fills. So I'm just gonna move until we get a gap fill slide. Okay, it'll come eventually, here we go. So I click on this letter A, and so there you can do this interactively with your students. So if a child, let's see, has, my student would say, a healthy diet, it will, and then I can add the other one, will grow up healthier and happier. So, and if a student has a question about something and I need more space, I can click on Canvas, and I click on Canvas, and now I've got this whiteboard. So I've got this unlimited whiteboard. I can draw, I can erase. So I've got my eraser. I can type things just like I did on the slides. Hello. I can add an image. I can add a YouTube video, and it's unlimited. So if I need more space, I just scroll down, and I've got it back here. So your student can have all their notes in this one place, and that's there too. once you finish the lesson, you can give the student homework. So we're working on the first conditional in class. I click on homework, and it opens up homework. And I can, so it says up here to assign homework, enroll students to the classroom. So if I have an enrolled student, I can assign this homework, and the student will get it, and they will be able to log in to Off2Class and actually do the homework. Okay, so page 1, page 2. So this is a whole ecosystem. This is an entire ecosystem. There's even stuff I didn't show you where you can, if like I can click on a word here. I think I might have to be able to do this with a student. So I can click on words, on specific words, and I can pull up Google image search. I can pull up a translator. So there's so many things that I can do. I can edit the slides. Where is that? Why can't I do that? I can't right click on this on the slide anywhere. It might be my browser. Right click. Yeah, right click isn't working. I don't know. So it might be the screen share or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but normally you can right click on the word happier, and I can do a Google image search for happier. I can listen to someone say it. I can translate it to other languages. So this is just like, I'm going through this a little bit quick because I want to be super respectful of your time, and I promise Q&A. But this, if you are teaching English online, this will save you a tremendous amount of time. Okay, so I'm coming back. Okay, good. Chris has been answering questions while I've been doing the demo, which is awesome. So I'm going to switch my screen share or get away from the vortex. Okay, great. So Chris has been in the chat answering questions. Yes, yes, good. Okay. And next, before we get into Q&A, I want to talk about what happens now. Okay, so I'm going to just go back to my slides for the last little bit of my presentation before our Q&A. Okay, so if you have questions about Off2Class specifically, I'll be able to get to them in a minute. For right now, put them in the chat because Chris is there. So here's what's going to happen next. Here's what to do now. If we've set it up for you, I'm going to make a button, and I'm going to turn it on. Okay, do you see a button below me underneath the video? Will you type yes if you see it? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, great. So to create an account on off2class.com is free. And if you can, for this free account, you get whether you actually end up joining Off2Class permanently or not, you get trial lesson, the placement test. So you will be able to give students this placement test. Lynn says paid up. Does that mean you joined? Okay, so create your free account, and there's a coupon code here, Chris Rush Webinar 25. So if you join Off2Class, if you choose a subscription between now and the day after Christmas, then you get 25% off the annual plan. Leah, can we get the account free forever? So if you sign up for the trial is a week, and if you don't decide to get a subscription at the end of the week, you will still have access to the placement test. So you'll still be able to use that placement test, but you won't be able to get access to the lesson content to teach your class, okay? So will someone please test that link? Can someone click the sign up free, because I had an error when I was setting it up. What happens when you click that link? Do you see this when you click the link? So someone click that link. Yes. Okay, great. Good. So when you click that link, you will be taken to this place where, and guys, there's no reason not to do it. Even if you're not sure, you're like, I don't know if this is for me, I don't even have students yet, go sign up, register for your free account, check it out. You might as well see, you can look at the games, look at the placement test, and then you can decide, okay? So definitely go check that out. Yes, offers under the video. Okay, and Chris, thanks for being in that chat box and answering the questions. So now what I want to do is I want to jump into some Q&A. It's 49 minutes past the hour. I've done a really great job on time. I'm going to go to some questions. Okay, the action plan. So James asked, the action plan is a fantastic idea. That's a self-guided freebie, or will that structure the student's perspective course? Okay, good question, James. So James, when I talk about the action plan, and now that I'm doing Q&A, let's put my face back on. Okay, so when I do the English action plan, it's something that I do. It's not a freebie that I give away to the student. It's something that I work on with them together. So I created slides, PowerPoint slides, where we actually were going to go through it together. So I said to the student, do you like to read? Okay, do you like to read blogs? Do you like to read books? Do you like to read magazines? What do you like to read? Pick. Oh, you like to read blogs. What are you interested in? Oh, you're interested in horseback riding. So we would do Google search, horseback riding blog. And we would put those in on their little calendar in the plan so that whether they bought lessons from me or not, they had a written plan for what they could do to improve their English. Okay, Rosanna, great, I'm planning to go. Okay, good. Ava, good one. Where do you, are you talking to me, Ava? Is that a question for me or is that a question for Off2Class? I think I'm going to proceed like that was for me. Okay, so I teach on italki.com. So italki.com is a teacher marketplace where you have a profile and students will browse and they choose a teacher. I don't work with italki or for italki. It's just a platform that I've used that I've had a lot of success on. And the reason that I like it is because they have a lot of traffic. A lot of places similar to that are like, you set up your teacher profile and they're like, where are all the students? italki.com has students. So that's why I like that one. Okay. How do you deal with cancellations if a student is consistently canceling? Lynn asked that question. Okay, so I'm going to answer that question, Lynn. It's a good one. So Lynn, what I do is, oh, James, you were there to hear your answer. Good. So Lynn, what I do is I have a free trial lesson normally if somebody finds me outside of italki, and they've got one shot to have a free trial lesson. And if they don't, because I used to be in the situation where I was so desperate for students that somebody would book a free lesson, not show up, and then I would be like emailing them saying, do you want to have it next week? You know, and that's so, like, it didn't make me feel good. It felt like I was chasing, and I'm like, gosh, this person doesn't respect my time, but I feel like I am so desperate for students that I'm sending them an email every week to see if maybe they want to book another one. I don't do that anymore. I say, okay, this is your one chance for a trial lesson. If you don't show up and you don't tell me ahead of time, then if you want to meet with me, you can buy a lesson. And that's that. So I think that's important to, it's just kind of like respecting your own time for a trial lesson. And it's important too, once they come to a trial lesson, if they agree to be your student, you have a really clear cancellation policy in effect. So that, Lynn, I need to get tough, yeah. So my cancellation policy, personally, I do 12 hours. So a student can cancel with 12 hours of notice and we'll reschedule. If a student reschedules with less than 12 hours notice, then no, you don't get credit for that lesson, like that's a paid lesson. I deduct that one. Okay, good. Good question. How to deal with students after the first package has expired. How to make them keep buying. Andre, is that how you say your name? Andre says. So what I do, Andre, okay, he's here, yeah, so I'm gonna answer this question now. So what I do is, it depends on how long your package is. I usually go five lessons is a package. And in the 5th lesson, we talk about it, we evaluate. I say, what did you like? What did you not like? And would you like to continue? And it's just like the trial lesson. I don't want to trick you into buying more lessons. If you're like, you know, Chris, it was helpful, but now I'm going to focus on something else, or you know, money is tight right now, or whatever the reason is, if a student says they don't want to continue, then we don't continue. And that's good. And I try to have a good relationship with my student, and I say, that's awesome, best of luck to you, you know where you can find me in the future. Okay, good, boom. Okay, how do you use the practice test? Students take it before they contact you, and you go through the results at the trial lesson. So, right, so Liz, thanks for answering. Chris made an answer too, but Liz, I want to make that even more clear. So here's what happens with the placement test. When a student contacts me about a trial lesson, the first thing I do is I send them a placement test, and I say, great, thanks for contacting me. I'm really excited that you want to improve your English so that I can get a better idea for your level. Please take this test. It's 100 questions, and it's going to give me a really good idea of what you need. And so what happens is the student then takes the test. I get notified when they finish the test. So as soon as they finish the test, they don't have to do anything. All they have to do is take the test. I get a notification. I see their results ahead of time before I even meet with them. So I'm prepped ahead of time. And then they come to the trial lesson, and I'm like, okay, thanks for taking your placement test, and now we're going to go over some of your mistakes, and I explain what the bars are, and I say these are your beginner mistakes, these are your intermediate mistakes, what do we want to work on? And we kind of use that as a conversation starter, because in some lessons they're going to say, or in some mistakes they're going to say, oh, I know that was a silly mistake. But other mistakes, they may say, oh no, why is that? Why is it some instead of any, for example? And then we just click the lesson. We just click the lesson in the right sidebar, and then we're off. And you can teach a whole course based just on the placement test by looking at their mistakes, clicking on the lesson, and now you're in the classroom and you're going over it with them. Okay, boom. And answering from Liz. Is it start? Okay, no, I'm going to delete that one because delete that one. Hello, guys. No, all right. And I started. I'm going to end that one. Lynn has 2 more questions. Lynn says, do you use the webcam in your lessons? Yes, I use the webcam in my lessons. You don't have to. I tell my students that they don't have to use the webcam. I like to use the webcam because I feel like it's so much helpful. I can use my hands. I can use my face. There's so many nonverbal cues that are important with having that camera on, okay? So, okay, good. Charmaine, what's the charge for using italki? They take 15% of your lesson. That's what they take. Okay, you set your own prices. They take a 15% cut. And then how long are your lessons? 45 minutes or a sensible hour? So personally, I do an hour. There are benefits to doing 45 minutes because then it's easier. Then it's easier to like give yourself little 15-minute breaks. So that depends on the individual. Maria says, do you always use Off2Class or do you also use your own material? I use Off2Class unless there's something very specific that the student needs. So, and I like Off2Class because it's so versatile, because there are so many different things in there that there may be something very specific that a student needs that I might have to go outside the platform for. But basically, my default is, okay, you're my student, and just about everything that you're going to need to improve your English is going to be in Off2Class. So that's kind of the #1 resource. Okay. The webcam depends on time of day. Yeah, I hear that. Okay. Okay, good. Any other questions? Gosh, I need to share with you the cheat sheet. So here, I'm going to put the link in the chat. The link in the chat. There's the cheat sheet. Okay, please click that link and tell me if it works. Tell me if it took you to the cheat sheet. Good, it worked. Okay, good, great. So that's my gift to you, right? That's so that you now have the formula right in front of you. Next time you're in a trial lesson, you've got it right in front of you. Paul says webcams build trust. Good. Great, guys. Any other questions? And yes, okay. So remember, before we finish, the coupon below in the offers tab below, you only have, what's today? December 14th. So you've got 12 days. So your trial only lasts 7, okay? So you've got to set up your trial. There's no reason not to set up your trial. It's free. Set up your trial. Do that right now. It's going to take 2 minutes. Do it while I'm talking. And then you've got your trial till Boxing Day. If you're in the US, I don't have Boxing Day, but Boxing Day is the holiday where the coupon expires so that you can get 25% off your annual subscription, okay? Someone says questions that I don't see. All right, let me just go back. Paul, okay, yeah, okay, great, thanks. So guys, I'm gonna hang out and answer these questions because it's been an hour. If someone needs to take off, awesome, you can do that. Thanks for joining. But I'm gonna get to Paul's questions. In 3 years, I've had 5 students that have had to cancel their courses in the middle, 2 because they want, 3 for illness, 2 because they want to start with a different teacher. I tend not to argue and make reimbursements. And I think the customer service aspect is good. I struggle with the front ends. I had no liquid cash. Do you keep student money in a sit down and transfer it to your personal account after the class is finished? Ooh, that's a tricky question, Paul, for sure. And I think for that one, Angela, the cheat sheet is at the link that I put in the chat. Okay, I'll put it in here one more time for you. Again, there's the thing. Paul, that's a super tough question. That's got to be discretionary. If someone's sick, you know, I think it's hard to be like, I think it would depend on the reason. If someone is sick, I think I would have a hard time saying, well, sorry, you paid for your lessons and now you're not getting your money back. I think in the case of they just wanted to have a different teacher, I would be less inclined to just refund unpaid for lessons in that situation, especially because I offer discounts for packages. So if I'm giving the lessons at a package at a discount, the implication is that you can't change your mind, right? If you're sick, maybe there's an exception, but not if you're going to choose a different teacher. I would say that's fine. You can choose a different teacher, but you have two choices. You can use the lessons you have with me or not. And not to be overly firm, but that's kind of how that one goes. Rosanna, is it possible to use Off2Class on the italki platform? Of course it is. Yes. So italki doesn't make any stipulations on what material you use. If you want to teach on italki is simply the platform to host your teacher services. But you can teach with whatever methods, materials you want. So definitely zero conflict there. Elementary question, where do you find your students? Betsy says, I've been mentioning italki.com. That's the thing that I've been using. I have a teaching website. I have a teaching blog. But I think for people who are just, okay, good. I think that's just about everything. And we're at an hour. So that's great. So guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope that I gave you a worthwhile hour of your time. I certainly strove to give you as much value as possible. I hope that I was able to do that for you. And guys, we'll be in touch, okay? So if you have any questions for me, anything to follow up, you got the emails from the webinar, chris@betterbusinessenglish.co. That's where you can find me. Any questions about any of this, send me an email and we're gonna be in touch, all right? All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a good day, a good afternoon, a good morning, a good night, wherever you are. And see you next time. Bye.